we were able to assemble an amazing group of plastic surgeons and dermatologists across the United States that thought we could make a difference in the way they run their practices and actually have a positive impact on their patients. And they actually began to invest in our company, but more importantly, they began to help us craft the content so we could get the right kind of videos that explain the right procedures in the right way, and at the same time introduce the doctor to the patient so they can better understand who they are and how they approach this. And so by assembling a world-class group of medical professionals, they became our advisory board, they became our investors, they helped us build this content. And that's been the real key to our success, is having those extraordinary surgeons and dermatologists behind the scenes helping us craft the content for aesthetics.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Technology of Beauty, where I have the opportunity to interview the movers and shakers of the beauty business. And today is no exception. Today, I get a chance to interview my friend, Lloyd Mahaffey, who is the president and CEO of Engage APX Technologies, located in Boise. And Lloyd's come down, and this is not his first time on the show, but it's the first time on the show as the Chief Executive Officer. Welcome, Lloyd. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Greg. Glad to be here.
It's great to have you, and I want everybody to get to know you. So I want to start with, where were you born?
Born in Charlotte, North Carolina, and somewhere along the way I lost my southern accent, but it will pop up every now and then today.
He says he lost his southern accent. That's pretty funny. Okay, and then where'd you go to school?
Went to school in Charleston, South Carolina, a small school called the Citadel, which is a military school. Graduated from there and then ended up spending some time at Stanford University with Apple.
Okay. Was that Apple Computers, that small little computer place that Steve Jobs started?
Yeah, a small company in Cupertino called Apple. In fact, when I told my parents I was going to work for Apple, my dad said, "That sounds really stupid. You're going to work for a company named after a fruit." And I said, "Well, maybe someday it'll be worth something, so we'll see."
I'll be darned. Did he really say that?
He really said
that. That is hilarious. Okay, so when you started at Apple, what'd you do?
Well, I initially started with Apple. I was running the Southeast United States and everything from Maryland to Mississippi, all markets, all channels down there. We had just launched the Macintosh.
Okay.
And we're not selling it very well. It was a very tough sell to try to break into business with a Macintosh. But we actually found that schools were very interested in adding the Macintosh. And so we began to focus on building out our K-12 and higher education market, and that's spent a lot of time doing that.
And did you stay there in
Stayed in Charlotte for about 18 months, and then I won the largest educational computing contract that Apple's ever been awarded. And got a call from Steve Jobs saying, "Would you mind moving to California and come head up Apple Education?" So I packed up and headed west and never came back.
So you ran Apple Education then?
I did, yeah, K-12 and higher ed.
Wow. How long did you do that?
Did that for about 3 years, and then was asked by the chairman, John Scully, to consider moving to Washington, D.C. Apple had a business unit called Apple Federal, primarily defense intelligence work. Most of the work we did was classified. I was one of the few people in Cupertino that had any federal experience.
Okay.
So after a time at education where we became a $1 billion business unit, the first one with Apple, I moved to Washington, D.C. and head up Apple Federal.
Is that right? And how long were you there in Washington, D.C.?
2 years with Apple Federal, and then that became that dark period during Apple's history before Steve returned. And I left the company and went to Verifone.
What's Verifone?
Verifone makes the great terminals you slide your credit card through. They control about 85% of the world payment movement through those terminals with credit cards. But when the internet came along, we thought someone might want to buy something, kind of a novel idea to find something on the internet and actually pay for it. The problem is you can't stuff currency through the internet. You can't shove your credit card through. So Verifone had all the patents on credit card processing.
I'll be darned.
And HP bought us. So that was an interesting period of time.
So HP bought Verifone, and were you out of a job at that point?
Yeah, I couldn't keep a job after that. So I went into venture capital. We thought that there was an opportunity to build a $300 million venture fund called Red Leaf that would focus on early stage investments, more from an operating perspective. And so we did that and had a great ride in Silicon Valley as well as the East Coast.
But you're back living on the West Coast at that
Back
point?
living on the West Coast.
Okay, in the Bay Area?
In the Bay Area, yeah.
And how long were you there running that VC fund?
We were involved with that for about 5 years and then moved up to Boise, Idaho as a quality of life decision. And that's how I got involved with the Engage venture, was by moving to Idaho.
Okay. And so that's how you got involved in Engage. And what year was that?
Oh, gosh. Engage was started in 2020.
Okay. So during COVID or right before COVID?
Right before COVID hit. And
So February?
Yeah. We launched just in time to lay off everybody for one day.
Oh, no.
And then the PPP program came into effect, and we hired everybody back the next day.
Okay. That's
and
good.
we're able to survive. So that's a program that did us a lot of benefit.
So when you started with Engage, what was the emphasis? What were you doing?
Well, one of the things that the team was really focused on is there's a big gap between what the medical professional knows about a disease state or a procedure and what the patient can understand. And what typically happens is the patient gets on Google and starts searching for all this information. We felt like there was a better way to convey that information, but it had to come from the doctor. It had to be clinically correct. And also, because humans have the attention span of goldfish, it had to be really short. It couldn't be TikTok-like, because TikTok's entertainment.
Right.
It had to be short enough to convey information. So we actually came up with a plan to build a short-form movie and to chop it up into 2-minute blocks, but to help the doctor explain the procedure to the patient in a way they can understand it, and deliver it by SMS. And that was really the basis behind launching Engage.
So for our listeners and watchers, what exactly do you mean by the acronym SMS?
Short messaging system.
And what's another term for that?
So texting.
Texting. Thank you very much. So it's through text on your trusted phone.
Exactly.
Okay. So what area of medicine did you start in?
So we actually started first in the ocular space in ophthalmology, because the number one surgery in the world is cataract surgery. And everybody's going to have that problem at some point. It's a matter of age. There are 2 different lens technologies available. There's a basic lens, which you can have put into your eye, and it's covered by Medicare. Or there's a premium lens that actually changes your near, mid-range, and far vision, makes it better. But it's about, on average, $3,500 per eye.
Okay.
And we felt like if there's a way to better explain the difference in vision and the quality of life you'll have the morning after, we might be able to change the conversion rate. The conversion rate has historically been about 15%.
Okay.
So we teamed with a company called Alcon, which is the major supplier of these lenses, in fact, the world leader. And we said, if we can change the conversion rate, would you want to try our technology? And they said yes. So we started with a small pilot, actually 10 locations.
I'll be darned.
And we began to see a change in the conversion rate after watching the videos that we created with Alcon. People began to pick the premium lens more often.
Okay.
So then we made the program bigger and bigger, and ultimately led to a huge contract with Alcon, and now we're deploying around the world.
So let me get this straight. The typical one that's paid for by Medicare is a unifocal, one focal length.
Correct.
And the premium one is trifocal?
Right, trifocal.
So the real question is, will they pay the extra $6,000 or $7,000 for the upgrade?
Correct.
And 15% of the people do that.
15% of the world typically says, I'll take the premium lens. We began to see conversion rates north of 40%.
Wow.
And it changed dramatically everybody's perspective on, if you tell the right story at the right moment to the right person, right when they're thinking about it, that moment of critical need that you're working your way through, that someone will make the right decision. In this case, they'd like to have better vision.
Right, of course. Who wouldn't?
It's the same thing we're looking at now in audiology, because if everyone's going to at some point lose their hearing or have a diminishment of hearing, why not try to improve your quality of life by having the best hearing you can possibly get?
So you're in audiology now also?
We're moving into audiology for the first time. We've got a wonderful team of ENT doctors, eye, ear, nose, and throat doctors that are working with us to develop the right content to show baby boomers why they're going to have a problem with hearing and what are some of the great new technology options coming forth.
What?
Exactly.
I couldn't help myself. I just couldn't help myself. So, okay, same customers that get intraocular lenses for cataracts are coming now for hearing aids?
Correct.
And you don't have that product yet?
No, we don't. That's something we're working on this year.
Okay.
So right now we're in ocular, We're in aesthetics, which is plastic surgery and dermatology. We're making some first moves into cosmetic dentistry, which is whiteners, liners, and implants. And then we were intrigued by audiology because it's one more time where every baby boomer at some point is going to face a diminishment of vision and a diminishment of hearing. So if we can offer some new technologies that are going to make a difference in that, we think we can make an impact in those markets.
I would say so. So tell me about your soiree into aesthetics.
Wow. Well, 18 months ago, I'm perfectly prepared to say I'm a technology guy, so I didn't know much about this, but we were able to assemble an amazing group of plastic surgeons and dermatologists across the United States that thought we could make a difference in the way they run their practices and actually have a positive impact on their patients. And they actually began to invest in our company, but more importantly, they began to help us craft the content so we could get the right kind of videos that explain the right procedures in the right way, and at the same time introduce the doctor to the patient so they can better understand who they are and how they approach this. And so by assembling a world-class group of medical professionals, they became our advisory board, they became our investors, they helped us build this content. And that's been the real key to our success, is having those extraordinary surgeons and dermatologists behind the scenes helping us craft the content for aesthetics.
And do you have this content already finished? Is it like a library? What is it?
Well, we worked on it for about 18 months, so it's been a labor of love for everybody that's been involved. And there are over 209 videos that cover a full range of surgical and non-surgical procedures now. So we're just bringing it to market. We're very excited about it, and the early reviews are quite positive.
That's fantastic. Now, what's this APX thing that I keep hearing about?
Well, one of the things we always thought about is in most healthcare practices, there's an electronic medical record system, the EMR. There's also a patient management system, which is really the scheduling and payroll and supplies for the office. Those two things are really basic and fundamental to the running of a practice. But every practice in the end is still a business. And so the owners of the practice would obviously like to create a great patient experience, drive more revenue into the practice, and in the end, have a better net income outcome. Because at some point, there might be a private equity group that would like to acquire the firm and bring it in. So we felt like what was missing in the practice was this third leg of the stool. I call it the triad of healthcare technology.
Okay, what's that mean?
If you have an EMR,
Yeah.
you have a PMS, what you're really missing is a practice performance system that focuses on bringing in more revenue to the practice and driving more net income through the practice. And so when we met Terry Ross and he's at Musley, they had a company called Apex Platform that focused on practice optimization. We're focused on patient engagement. Patient engagement is all about procedural decision and revenue. Practice optimization is being more efficient and having more net income. We felt like putting the two together for the first time would create the third leg of the stool, the practice performance system.
Okay.
And so now for the first time, we actually create this triad of healthcare technologies. We launched this 2 weeks ago, and I've been amazed at the response we're getting from the market.
That's fantastic. And where are you located? Do you have multiple locations now?
Well, we're headquarters is Boise, Idaho, but like a lot of companies, we're really a virtual company now. We have part of our team is in California, Idaho, Florida, New Jersey, pretty much in several different states. So we're running a virtual company.
So Apex is all over the country also. And is it
Correct.
Apex or APX?
It's Apex Platform is how they pronounce it, yes.
Okay. And I've seen it in writing as the letter A, the letter P, and X.
Correct.
And that's still Apex.
Right,
Okay.
that's correct.
Well, terrific. So how are you going to put this into the practices? What are your plans for actually having practices adopt this library and APX?
Well, one of the big challenges with any new technology you're deploying in a practice is they have an existing system in place. And so you have to learn to play nice and plug into that system. Fortunately, we're technology people, so we think about that a lot. So I have a whole team of technologists in Boise thinking about how they connect with all of the different EMR and PMS systems in the United States. And we're making good progress in that. We're now able to integrate with about 22 different systems. So we're making good progress.
And this integration you're talking about is with the EMR, correct?
EMR and PMS, right. We've got to be able to plug in and really pull data out, because what we're trying to do is when you schedule the consultation with the doctor, we'd like to send the videos right then. We'd like the system to do it, not the office manager. Let the system automatically go.
Okay.
Grant's coming in for a consultation. the system pushes the videos out automatically to you, lets you watch them, so you come in better educated when you're ready to meet with a doctor. And the way we design the technology is if you stop watching the videos, first of all, our system knows it. We know where you stopped. We send you an oops reminder and it says, the doctor would really like to watch these videos before you come in. And we've already queued up where you stopped. And what's interesting about acquiring and merging with Apex and bringing them into the equation is ever since COVID, learning management systems are changing. Continuing education is changing.
Sure.
And we believe there's a new generation of micro LMS requirements coming out. We think our platform is uniquely well equipped to be a micro LMS and keep hiring and training and retraining the workforce on how to do these different roles.
So you said you have all these videos. Did you say 209?
Our total video portfolio is almost 500. When you count
Okay,
up
but
all
for
of
that
the
aesthetics,
different
meaning surgical and non-surgical, is
Correct,
that right?
That's right.
How long are these average videos?
The average video is probably 2 to 2.5 minutes.
Oh, good, because I get bored with those long videos.
Right. But now a procedure might take 3 or 4 videos to tell the whole story you want to do.
But I can watch
you're
one
dripping
video
that
and then
out.
come back and watch it again.
Right.
And you mentioned an oops reminder. Tell us all what you mean by an oops reminder.
So one of the things I mentioned earlier about the attention span of goldfish, one of the things we always show is how long the video is. The time matters, because if people see the number that is too long, they won't watch.
Right.
So we keep them about 2 minutes. And then if you want to, you can watch the next one. Interestingly, a lot of people binge watch our videos,
Okay.
which we didn't expect.
So they string them all
They just
together?
string them all together.
Okay.
But quite often they might get interrupted. The children are home. You got to work on homework. And so what happens is our system automatically knows where you stopped and sends you a prompt and says, oops, the doctor would like you to finish watching these. And so we kind of prompt you. We can set that up several ways. So it's a very intelligent system.
Can you watch the videos multiple times?
You can. Yes. Once they're downloaded to you, you can watch them as much as you
And
want.
they're downloaded onto my phone.
On your phone.
What if I want my spouse to watch it?
You can forward them to her.
Oh,
Or
you
him.
can. You can
Yes.
forward the content.
That's right.
Is there any charge to the patient
And there's
to watch a video?
No charge to the patient.
You can watch as many times as you want for free.
That's correct. The practice pays a monthly subscription fee. It's quite reasonable.
So why not interact with the patient before they call to make the appointment on the EMR? Why not put that as content on the website?
Well, on the doctor's website?
Yeah, the doctor's website. A lot of people do research before they pick up the phone and call the doctor.
And we're actually talking, some of the practices have asked us to consider doing that. We just have to kind of work out the technology because we want to be able to track what happens.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
But we're certainly open to do that. We think that in the initial contact, because they've already kind of made the decision to reach out to the doctor's office, that's the ideal time to send it out to them because they have a better sense of what they're looking for. But we're not opposed to doing that either.
Well, I would suggest for your consideration that actually there's probably 8 to 10 to 1 that actually research before they call. And actually you'll increase your call rate by letting them get to know the doctor. Maybe it's just get to know the doctor
Right.
and not procedure specific. But a lot of people call me or research, say, breast augmentation
Right.
before they decide which doctors they're going to call. And maybe the doctor with the best content is the doctor who gets
Right.
the call.
Good point.
And then it comes back around
Good
to the
point.
EMR
Yeah.
and you push it back to them again. But there may be an increased conversion of the researcher to contact. We talk about contact to appointment.
Right.
Why not researcher to contact to
to
appointment?
appointment, yeah.
I would think
Good
there's
point,
something
yeah.
there to consider.
One of the things we try to do also is make a video of the doctor on the front end, and we put that on the front end of all the video content. And it's really a great opportunity for the doctor to sort of introduce himself
Oh,
to the
sure.
patient. So that's been a very popular part of our platform.
Yeah, I would think so. Just like the social media platforms, and the doctors that have had a presence on social media have done a lot better
Right.
job of communicating with not only with their patients but their prospective patients.
Correct.
They say, "I like that doctor. I can trust that."
Right,
doctor."
exactly. So we're very focused on driving this content into practices, and actually our business model can be repeated in each of the healthcare sectors we try to serve. We just repeat the model over and over again.
I like that.
But besides the practice side, we're actually working with big manufacturers. I mentioned Alcon and the work we've done there. And actually, we're just launching with Alcon in Germany, Spain, Portugal, Brazil, and Japan. So we're a global platform when it comes to the ophthalmology, which sets the stage for us to do that in all the other market sectors. But beyond that, we're talking to and working with some big manufacturers around the world that really care about 3 things. 1, training their own sales force on their products and retraining them over time, LMS type technology. 2, introducing their new products and services to the practices not only the doctor but the staff.
Okay.
And the third is working with the practice, the manufacturer, working with the practice to introduce these new products to the patients of the practice.
Okay.
And so we kind of have two businesses. One is focusing on the practice, bringing in more patients, and then optimizing. Second is helping manufacturers have a more successful relationship with the practices.
So are you working with businesses within the aesthetic space? You mentioned Alcon for ocular.
Yes, we're really happy with the number of customers. We work with firms like Allergan, Galderma, Revance, Merz, Revell, Cyton, Cutera, just a lot of them. And again, it's because of all of our KOLs that worked with us. They, first of all, helped us craft the content. Then they help us attract their peers to the platform.
Sure.
But in the end, they also attract the manufacturers who want to know what we're doing.
That's very interesting. And when you mention audiology, I'm kind of curious about that. Is there one? Is there multiple? You mentioned Alcon with eyes, and I have some questions about that. But walk me through this whole hearing aid business, because I actually don't know anything about it.
Right. So there are several major hearing aid manufacturers, some are in Europe, some are in the United States. They all have about the same market share, which is interesting. If you look at their global share, that's about 33% or so of that share. We believe that picking one of them and helping them initially change the conversion could have a material impact on the entire business model.
Well, if it has the same effect that Alcon had.
Exactly.
Now, does Alcon only do intraocular lenses?
No, they're very much into refractive and glaucoma as well. They also have a huge contact lens business. So we focused on cataracts first, refractive second, going global third with those two categories. But then we're already talking to the contact lens and some other areas.
Interesting. On the refractive, that's LASIK?
Correct.
Or LASIK?
Correct, LASIK.
And is there an upsell on that?
There is, yes.
So there's a premium and a standard?
Right, and also the ability to kind of come back in and make some adjustments to it over time. It's one of those things where you have a chance to kind of make some adjustments depending on how the surgery goes.
And you're working with them right now?
We are.
Okay. Well, very interesting. What do you see in the future here? This is, you've put together APX and Engage. And so now you're touching the patient and the practice at different levels, it sounds like. What's the future look like to you?
Well, we think that, first of all, we've actually hit on something big with this practice performance system. Being able to drive patient engagement and practice optimization really is the third leg of the stool. Mm-hmm. And I think that practices are starting to agree with that. Manufacturers are starting to pay attention. And so we think we've actually created a fairly unique position for ourselves. That's only as good as our ability to execute. And so we're really focused on being strong in ocular, strong in aesthetics, and launching into new market sectors where we can have the same impact. Our goal is to look at some new sectors beyond audiology. For example, we think specialty pharmacy is a huge opportunity. It's 5% of the fill, but it's 50% of the spend in pharmacy. And it's dealing with very, very complex disease states, lots of comorbidities, very complex prescriptions that people have to take. And so being able to have an impact on adherence and persistence, being able to help them understand why they need to take the medication. Even though sometimes the medication is as tough as the disease, it really is having an impact. And so we're very focused on trying to move into specialty pharmacy. We think that's a huge opportunity.
What do you mean by adherence and persistence? What's that about?
Adherence is the ability to take the pill and then to take it over time. And so what we're really trying to do is have an impact in the number of fills they make, because quite often people go, I feel fine. I don't need to fill this again. So adherence would be fill the prescription again and then take it for a longer period. So that has a huge impact on the patient. It also has a huge impact on the pharmaceutical industry.
And you think your technology can change that?
We've already proven that. We actually did some early work with Optum in the multiple sclerosis area. And we saw some dramatic changes in both adherence and persistence. So that was just a pilot. But we now believe that when you look at the volume going through specialty pharmacy, there's a huge opportunity to do something there.
And when you say specialty pharmacy, what do you mean by that?
Well, there are retail pharmacy locations like CVS and Walgreens and Walmart and Costco. But specialty pharmacy really has no retail environment. They actually take very complex prescription orders and they fill them through direct mail and send them directly out to patients. And they have consultation teams that work with them. And it's for things like cancer and things like that. It's really handled through specialty pharmacy.
So it's not typical like hypertension medicine or
No,
cholesterol medicine.
More complex disease states.
Okay. Can this be used by, say, a CVS or the companies that...
Absolutely, it could be. In
it
fact,
could be. I know they call hypertension the silent killer.
Yeah.
People don't take their meds. They don't feel any worse.
Well, a good example, and we're actually doing some work with Walgreens and Walmart and Kroger with a firm called Waltz Health to help the patients make the best decision. Who has the best discount offer on a certain
Is that right?
prescription fill right now? So we're testing that in 3 locations. And of course, that's interesting for retail pharmacy because quite often there's a prescription fill like for high blood pressure, but there's an over-the-counter solution called CoQ10 that you can marry the two together and have a better outcome for the patient. That's increasing the basket size. So we think that over time, we could have an impact in retail, but the truth is it's really hard because at the pharmacy counter, they're trying to just fill the prescriptions.
Sure.
So that's why specialty pharmacy, we think, is a better place for us to start.
Interesting. Okay, well, what else is in the future? You mentioned specialty pharmacy. Early on, you just mentioned quickly, you said something about cosmetic dentistry or aesthetic dentistry.
Yeah, we think
What do you have in mind there?
Well, I don't think that most people need to watch a video to know they need to improve their fluoride treatment or deal with periodontal disease. The dentist usually tells you when you're in the chair,
Sure.
you've got that problem. But I do think that whiteners and liners and implants are a decision that a consumer gets to make. Do I want my teeth to be straight or do I want them to be whiter? Do I need to just fill a cavity or do I need to replace a tooth? Those are decisions that are in some cases out of pocket. It's not just insurance based. And at that point, there is an opportunity to convey to the patient the benefits of having your teeth straightened or having them more white or filling it in a different way, replacing the tooth. So we think that's something we can do in the cosmetic dentistry, but that's a more specialized cash payer of dentistry.
But it sounds a lot like aesthetics.
It
It's
does.
just aesthetics for the mouth.
Just repeating the model.
Yeah, once again. Well,
Once again.
it's all very interesting. What's the future for Engage in APX at this point? I know you're adding other verticals.
Adding
What
more
else do you
verticals.
see?
I think the one thing we're actually thinking about is at some point we believe there's another market besides healthcare that could benefit from what we do. We're looking very carefully at financial services because there's a big gap between what the professional advisor knows and what the consumer understands. But honestly, there's so many areas of healthcare that we can continue to work in that I think that's something pretty far out in our future.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's a lot of areas I would think you could educate people, orthopedics and all sorts of even pediatrics.
Exactly.
I can think of all kinds
Pediatrics is
of
a huge one.
areas you could educate the consumer.
Exactly.
And there's that gap. Well, thank you very much for coming down from Boise, Idaho, and
My
joining us
pleasure.
here on the
Enjoyed
show. And I look forward to following the company and see how you're doing.
Great. Thanks, Grant. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome, Lloyd. And I want to thank all of you for coming back to the Technology of Beauty, where you get to hear from the movers and shakers of the beauty business, and today was no exception. I look forward to seeing you each and every Tuesday. Take care.